I would now invite Mr. David Shepherd, MLA for Edmonton Centre, to bring remarks on behalf of Premier Notley.
Thank you. That was amazing. I dare say this room has never seen so much soul. Tonight has been a long time coming. I've had the honor of standing here in this historic space to celebrate and recognize many important events. Remembrance Day, Holodomor, Black Ribbon Day, Ramadan, Vaisakhi, and most recently the establishment of Ukrainian Heritage Day. And it is now my incredible honor to stand here tonight with all of you on the traditional territory of Treaty 6 on behalf of Premier Rachel Notley and all of my colleagues in the Government of Alberta for the Alberta Legislature's first celebration and recognition of Black History Month. And it's an especial honor that I get to share that with all of you here today. For over 135 years, men and women of African descent have been weaving their lives and communities into the rich cultural fabric of our province. From early settlers like Annie "Auntie" Saunders, who in 1877 came to work as a nanny in Pincher Creek and went on to become an independent businesswoman operating a laundry, restaurant, and boarding house for students who attended the local school. Or as the speaker noted, the cowboy John Ware, who arrived in 1882, introduced longhorn cattle to the province and earned a near legendary status for his toughness and ranching prowess. And hundreds of others who around 20 years later made their way to Alberta from the southern U.S., seeking the opportunity to build new lives free from prejudice and oppression, who founded settlements like Amber Valley, Keystone, and Wildwood, where they farmed, opened businesses, and built thriving communities. Among them was Jefferson J.D. Edwards, a man who co-founded the Alberta Wheat Pool, who started Alberta's first black baseball team, and served on his local school and hospital boards. They came seeking freedom and opportunity, but their road was not easy. They faced the challenges of a difficult climate, both in the extremes of the prairie weather and in the harsh realities of prejudice and discrimination. Officials at all levels of government worked to ensure that there would be no more dark spots in Alberta, cutting off further black immigration and isolating the existing communities. And the letters KKK were sadly not unknown, nor were burning crosses. But despite that, those who had already come continued working to establish themselves and build thriving communities. And their descendants began to spread out across our province, bringing their culture, spirit, and determination to new communities. Descendants like Velma Carter, who at 17 years old graduated from teaching school and took a contract in a predominantly white village east of Edmonton. And though she was initially met with hostility and rejection because of the color of her skin, she refused to let it beat her down. And through her dedication to and creativity in her work, she in time won their support and respect. And after a time in the U.S. where she became California's first black vice principal, she returned here to Edmonton, where she served as a community leader and educator, penned 3 books chronicling the history and accomplishments of black settlers in Alberta and across Canada. And her granddaughter, Janetta Jameson, is here with us tonight. In fact, I know that tonight here with us we have many of the sons and daughters of those original settlers here in the province. These are Albertans who have made significant contributions to our culture and communities. We know the famous stories. We talk about the John Wares and the J.D. Edwards and the others that we know, but there are hundreds of stories across this province that are equally deserving to be known and to be told, and that is why we are here tonight. Stories of the trailblazers who embodied our core values of hard work, commitment to community and freedom. Men and women who have worked to preserve their families' histories and heritage. Albertans whose stories deserve to be heard, remembered, recognized, and retold. Because in their stories we find hope and inspiration for those of African descent who came and continue to come here from countries around the world. Like my father, who came here to Edmonton from Trinidad in 1967. Albertans who have worked and continue to work to build new lives for themselves and their families and to live as engaged and valued members here in their new home. And that is why I believe it's important that we acknowledge and stand beside them as the Government of Alberta, that we stand beside those in the community who for years have already been holding their heads high, recognizing and celebrating Black history in Alberta. Organizations like the Shiloh Centre for Multicultural Roots, the Black Pioneer Descendant Society of Western Canada, the Nile Valley Foundation, and the Black Settlers of Alberta and Saskatchewan who have worked to research, record, and preserve these important stories. And the many community groups and organizations like the Edmonton chapter of the National Black Coalition of Canada who have been holding Black History Month celebrations for many years. As the speaker said, this is your province. This is your legislature. And today we recognize that this has always been true, that since their arrival, Albertans of African and Caribbean descent have stood as a unique cultural community alongside the many that have worked and continue working to make our province the vibrant and diverse community that it is today. And so I stand proud that with this past Tuesday's proclamation, the Government of Alberta will now stand beside you to recognize that every year. So thank you to all of you who have come to share in this historic moment tonight. Thank you for everyone who worked to make this happen. Happy Black History Month.